Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Lefty's Place. I'm super excited to continue this series with you guys, now going with the top 5 shooting guards in Heat history, and I'm sure you guys know what that means. If you don't, then, I guess you're in the right place because you're going to learn, alright, because the best player in Heat history is going to be discussed in this list. This is going to be like a semi-praising of Wade video, like highlight reel slash, like I said, praise of like the god that is the Flash D Wade. We're obviously going to talk about the other 4 guys. We're going to enjoy all that, but get ready for what's in store for the D Wade portion of this episode, guys. Please. Starting at number 5. Josh Richardson. Alright, so we have one of the more likable players in Heat history with Josh Richardson. He was the second round pick back in 2015 and was a huge steal for the Heat. As most of you guys should remember, Winslow was also selected in that draft, and most, if not everybody, would say that Richardson turned out to be the better player in that draft. So definitely a really great player in Heat history. And it all started in that rookie season when he was that rookie off the bench, shooting threes nonstop. I can remember like it was yesterday. And then Wade called him and Winslow Rook 1 and Rook 2. So that's where he got that nickname. And it was just really cool to see him, along with Winslow and Bam, kind of like grow up together and be that like that young trio that we always wanted to like grow together. Unfortunately, that's not how it worked out, with him getting sent to Philly and us getting Jimmy Butler. Obviously, that worked out for us. I don't know how much for Philly because, it was kind of a rocky season this year. But definitely enjoyed my time being able to watch Josh Richardson play here in Miami. And Josh Richardson was also extremely great with the community, and it was awesome to see how missed he was when he left or when he was traded. Everyone was like adamant about how much they didn't want to see him go. Same thing with me. Even though I knew it was kind of necessary, even though I didn't want it to happen, it was cool to see how much the city of Miami really missed him and how much he impacted the community here. And that is exactly why he makes the number 5 spot on my list. Number 4, Steve Smith. So now we're going to be talking about one of the earlier players in Heat history in Steve Smith, and honestly probably one of the more important players in Heat history, and I'm going to tell you why towards the end. Steve Smith was the Heat's first round draft pick in 91. He was the 5th overall pick, and he was a solid young player. We were able to see him, well, not me technically because I was born in 94, but Heat fans at the time were able to watch him grow in his first 3 seasons in Miami, as he scored 12 points per game, which eventually led to 16 and then 17 in his final season. And even in the playoffs in his final season, he led the Heat in points per game with 19. So he definitely showed a lot of progress in his years. Unfortunately, in just 3 games, or I believe it was 2 games into his 4th season with the Heat, he was traded to Atlanta and eventually became an all-star with them. It was a one-time all-star, but, he did become an all-star. The Heat did get Kevin Willis in return, and that turned very poorly because the Heat did not get the player they thought they were getting in return. And with that decision, the reason Steve Smith is probably one of the more important players in Heat history is because of that specific decision. The Heat GM, or I believe it was owner at the time, Mickey Arison, decided to go and get himself an excellent GM, and he got himself the one, the only Pat Godfather Riley. Yes, guys, Steve Smith led to Pat Riley. So he gets 4th on this list pretty much solely because of that, but he was also an amazing player here in Miami. Number 3, Ray Jesus Shuttlesworth Allen. Alright, so now we get to talk about Ray Allen, one of the clutchest and best 3-point shooters in Heat history. And Obviously, the reason for that would be because of that Game 6, the shot. Every Heat fan knows that. Even new Heat fans should know that, because that's like one of the biggest moments, like the biggest moment in Heat history. Because if that doesn't happen, the Heat don't win their 3rd championship, and we don't see another parade down Biscayne Boulevard. But yeah, Ray Allen was a great player here. He was the backup guard to Wade, and he averaged 10 points per game while he was here. You know, solid for what he had at the end, because he played his last 2 seasons here in Miami. So we pretty much got the last of Ray Allen, and it was good. It was some good years. He obviously won a championship with us, and he was another solid veteran that we needed off the bench that was able to spread the floor for Wade and LeBron James. Ray Allen obviously had a bunch of accomplishments throughout his career, including 10 All-Star appearances, a bunch of All-NBA appearances as well. Well, All-NBA selections. And obviously he's going to go down as one of the best shooting guards in history. But on Heat history, he ends up 3rd on this list. Number 2, Eddie Jones. So I'm going to get to talk about one of the more exciting players to watch on this list, and that is Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones was an excellent player before he came to Miami. He was a 3-time All-Star before he joined in 2001 as the Heat traded for him for Jamal Mashburn and P.J. Brown. Pat Riley just felt like it was time to change things, especially after all the playoff losses to the Knicks in those late 90s. It was tough, so they had to make some changes. And Eddie Jones was an excellent player to pick up, as he was able to bridge the gap between the Mourning Hardaway era and the Wade era. There was in between that, there wasn't much to look forward to. So Eddie Jones was able to at least make it relatively fun, being as he was the best player on that team. And I believe in his best season, he averaged just under 18. No, he averaged 18 points per game. So, you got solid production from him for a few years there. And unfortunately, probably one of my saddest regrets. It was probably one of my saddest regrets as a Heat fan is that Eddie Jones was not able to enjoy that championship in 2006, because he played until 2005. So he made it to that Eastern Conference Finals with the team that lost to the Detroit Pistons. But then he left, and then he came back in 2007. And obviously we know what happened there. That was a disaster. And so he was just not able to enjoy any championship basketball. All right, so now before we get to our obvious number 1 spot, I know, guys, I want to get there too. But before we get there, let's talk about our honorable mentions. Starting with Harold Miner, Baby Jordan. Come on, we all remember. Well, not me. Again, come on. I wasn't born then. I was still too young. But Harold Miner, drafted in 92, was a very, very hyped prospect coming in. And when the Heat drafted him, they were hoping for someone big. All the highlights he had in college, there was a lot of things expected of him, but he underwhelmed big time. And unfortunately, injuries slowed him down. So he was literally only able to play 4 seasons in the league. So there was definitely a big question mark there. Or not question mark, a big what if with Harold Miner. Next, we're going to be talking about Vashawn Leonard. He was the sharpshooter during the Mourning Hardaway era. It was actually a pretty interesting story of how the Heat found Vashawn Leonard. He was playing for this basketball league that he played 30 games with. I forgot the name of the league. It was like CSL or something like that. And the Heat signed him. Super random. I guess something similar to like the G League now. But so that happened, and he just became a solid sharpshooter for him. One of the better three-point shooters in the entire league, and a solid defender. He just didn't do enough throughout those years to really, put him in that 5th spot. And last but not least, definitely not least, we are talking about the man with the golden arm, Wayne Ellington, who I'm still gonna place him as the best shooter in Heat history. I'm still gonna say it, because even though Duncan Robinson this season passed his record for most 3-point field goals in a single season, he started most of this season. Wayne Ellington was off the bench that season he broke that record. And might I remind you, Wayne Ellington also has the record for, I don't remember, because I don't wanna like be like this is facts and someone already broke it. But he had in that season broken the record for most 3-pointers by a player off the bench in NBA history. Huge accomplishment by Wayne Ellington, the man with the golden arm. So definitely deserving to be in the honorable mentions. Just obviously only played 2 seasons with us, so didn't do enough to make it to that number 5 spot. Number 1, Dwyane Wade, aka D Wade, aka Flash, aka Wow, at a time we don't speak of, aka Pookie to Mrs. Wade, and aka Father Prime. We're talking about my favorite player ever, the best player in Heat history, Mr. Dwyane Wade. God, man. This is why I love basketball. This is the reason right here. This is the reason I love basketball. Dwyane Wade. Okay, let's just talk about this. I started liking basketball probably around the age of 8, 9 years old. So I learned. And that's literally, I was born in '94. So if we can do the math, that was pretty much around the time that Wade got drafted. So my love for sports coincided with Wade's career, and man, God, those were some great years to watch, man. Wade was just so much fun from the beginning. How he was able to lead the Heat, like, come on, now we're talking about history. The way he led the Heat to the championship that first hit in his 3rd season in 2006. Like, I mean, you had Shaq. Shaq was solid. I'm not saying Shaq was bad, but I actually recently saw the stats of Shaq that in those playoffs. He averaged 18 points per game and under 10 rebounds. He didn't even average a double-double. We're talking about Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most dominant players in Heat in like NBA history. And he didn't even average a double-double in those playoffs. You obviously had a withered, injured, like he was like probably fatigued, old Shaq, like still able to put 18 and 9. Like those are still solid numbers, but you weren't getting like prime Shaq. So the odds were obviously against the Heat, down 0-2 in that series. But Wade, oh my God, like can we just bring up those averages? The final 4 games in the finals. Come on, Steve, put them up there. Boom. Yes. Look at that. He was a god. He was a god in that series. And he led the Heat to their first championship. Led them by himself. I don't care what anyone says. Let's pull up the stats for Shaq in the finals. In that specific final series, let's pull those up. Exactly. It's just, there's no competition. Wade is the best. One of my favorite memories was actually his final season. I went to the Warriors game that year. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about. If you guys are really Heat fans, you already know what I'm talking about. His final season, the Warriors game. I went with my best friend, Chris. He's a Warriors fan. So obviously, and that was when they were the best. And we were going to watch Wade play this historic team in his final season. See what he can do, cap something off, Maybe we see a solid game. Maybe he'd still lose because this team's so good. But we see a solid game from Wade. That's exactly what we got, man. We got one of the greatest shots by Wade ever in his career. Like, do you remember that? He got blocked twice by Jordan Bell and Kevin Durant. And then he would just, a last minute, heave off the backboard in. Me and Chris had, a perfect angle at it in the 300 section. We were right behind it. So I saw it. So I was like, oh, that's in. Oh, and I lost it. Oh, that was so awesome, man. That was so awesome. And then he got on the scoreboard. You know, this is my house. Like, come on, you can't forget that. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for my top 5 shooting guards in Miami Heat history. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know I did. So if you liked the video, please hit the like button and also subscribe. And for any future videos, ring that bell. See you later.